What's going on, everybody? It's Aurora coming at you with a brand new video, and tonight we just got a bunch of new Albaz lore related cards revealed for Cyberstorm access that literally just all dropped like at once. It's a bunch of like 1 or 2 ofs for different archetypes in the branded lore, and I think they're really cool. I have looked at them myself, but I figured because it is a bunch of cards and there's technically multiples for each of the archetypes in here, or for some of the archetypes in here, I might as well at least make a video on them, even if I have personally already taken a look at them, just so you guys can like kind of see a little bit of my reaction, but mostly also so that you can see it if you haven't seen them already. So I'm not going to waste any time. Let's go ahead and get right into this, starting off with the Bestial Aluber. And you didn't think we'd not get Aluber, right? I mean, like, look at that. He's sitting there with his... It's actually not the hot guy pose on typical thrones. I feel like he did it just to spite the hot guy throne pose, where it's like usually they have their legs like man spread and they just sit there like this. But it is a level 4 Dark Dragon Tuner effect monster, likely to make the new Bestial Synchro coming out in this set, with 1800 attack and 0 defense that says you can only use his second effect once per turn. His name becomes Fallen of Albaz while on the field or in the graveyard, which I find very interesting and may hint at him having fully absorbed Albaz at this point. And on summon, you can discard a card and then target a dragon your opponent controls or in their graveyard to activate one of these effects. You send this card to the graveyard, and if you do, take control of it if it was on the field, or you send it to the grave and special summon it from their graveyard to your field. So I feel like this is pretty interesting because, like, yeah, obviously it's meant to kind of like do what the Bestials were supposed to do and like do anti-dragon hate towards the opponent's graveyard, because, you know, it's like you're trying to play Albaz versus Aluber, kind of like how kaijus go to each other's fields, because you're supposed to make the kaijus fight each other, but this ends up ironically just being a tool for like branded Bestial to like combat other Bestial playing strategies right now, or at least in the future when this does come out, because you can just like take an opponent's Magnamut or something and then use the Magnamut's effect to get a free search. I think that's really funny. I don't think this card is like too like wild overall. I mean, like, I guess if you're playing pure Bestials and you're playing against someone else playing Bestials, but I mean, maybe as a one-of in like branded Bestials, something like that, because it is a tuner. So if you do want to go a non-branded fusion route and like not lock yourself into fusion, you want to go for like the synchro, I feel like it's not the worst option you could play. We also have Fallen of our Gyro. So this is like a weird, I think it's supposed to be Fleur-de-Lis armor or something mixed with Sprint. Like, obviously it's the sprites, you know, the Argyros and everything like that. It's also a level 2 Dark Thunder that's meant to kind of support sprite, but I'm trying to like understand what it is art-wise, because it looks like they're in the ruins area. It might be Golgonda, I don't know. But it's like, it's a set of armor and it's got like the sprite shit in it. So I don't know. Also, it's cool that they made a purple sprite out of the blue and the red. But it's a level 2 Dark Thunder with 700 attack and defense. It says you can only special summon it with the first effect once per turn, and you can only use the third effect once per turn. So it says if there is a level, rank, or link 2 monster on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand to either field. So it's basically all the sprite summoning conditions in one, which makes sense because it is both blue and red. Link monsters that point to this card cannot activate their effects, and during your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can target an Xyz monster on the field and detach up to 2 materials from it. So this card ended up being very strange to me. I mean, I feel like it's supposed to be some kind of pseudo Ibli lock, like, you know how Sprite uses like the Ibli things because it gives it to the opponent. Well, I mean, you're supposed to give this to your opponent, and I think you're supposed to use the like second effect to kind of do a Nightmare Griffin or Ibli sort of thing. But it ends up just being kind of bad if you go for that sense, because then they also get the third effect, which literally, if you go for Gigantic after giving this to your opponent, they can just rip all the materials from Gigantic, which just completely screws you over. Like, I have no clue what the application of this card is supposed to be, at least in a good sense. Like, let me know in the comments if you know of any, like, specific combos that this works for. Like, the summoning condition is pretty good, don't get me wrong. It's literally all the sprites, and I mean, it is, I guess, a free level 2 extender, but I don't know if Sprite will play this because it's not a Sprite by name, so I don't know, maybe. A card I actually really enjoy out of this wave is Ice Jade Agerine Ron. It is a level 7 Water Aqua Tuner with 1500 attack and 2100 defense. It says you can only use its first effect once per turn. It says you can discard another Ice Jade card or water monster and then special summon this card from your hand, and then you can special summon an Ice Jade token, which is level 3 Aqua Water with 0 attack and defense. And while that token is in the monster zone, the player who summoned it cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except water monsters, and its name becomes the field spell's name while it is equipped with an equip card. So I think this is actually a pretty cool card, not just for Ice Jade, but also in general, and not just for how good it is, but also due to the lore implications, because basically, when it comes to the token, the interesting part is that the Ice Jade and the Sword Soul are like kind of one and the same almost. Like they guard like the same area in a sense, and the Sword Soul swords, if I recall correctly, come from the field spell, like the area that the Ice Jades live in, or lived in, I guess I should say. And so it's really funny that the token that's created also has a similar lock. I mean, I guess the lock is mainly there so you don't go into like Baron or something for literally free, but I like how the lock is there because it kind of reminds me of the Sword Souls, and I think that's pretty neat. And then the lore implications in the second effect is also really cool because it's literally Adrienne trying to rebuild what's left of the Onion Cradle. I'm gonna call it Onion Cradle because that's the only way I know how to pronounce it. Because, you know, obviously it was destroyed in the battle between Mirror Jade and the Long One, but overall it's just a really good card because not only does it give Ice Jade immediate access to their synchro, but it also lets decks like Mermail, the best deck of all time, get immediate access to a level 10 synchro, such as, I believe, it's not White Aura Whale. There's a good level 10 water synchro that isn't Chengying, I swear. Okay, no, I'm lying. There's literally just Deep Beyond, Gimir, Chengying, and White Aura Bahamut. So it does actually give Mermail at least immediate access to Gimir if they want to play it, but it also gives you immediate access to Chengying, which is also, again, cool for lore reasons, but also just pretty neat in general because Chengying is a pretty good synchro. And then the second effect is just great for Ice Jade in general because they need all the access to Onion Cradle that they can, considering that a single MST can just completely murder them. So next we have Guiding Quem the Virtuous. So at first I thought this was Ecclesia, but when I realized Quem is the white relic of Dogmatica, it's the other Dogmatica girl. That's who Quem is. She was like apparently a girl that was like led astray or whatever. She's like a super into the religion kind of thing. She's also a light 4 light spellcaster tuner with 1500 attack and 1500 defense, and it is always treated as a Dogmatica and a Despia card. And it says you can only use each effect of this card's name once per turn. And on summon, you can send Albaz or any card that mentions it from your deck to the graveyard. And if a card leaves the extra deck, you can target a Fallen of Albaz or a monster that mentions it except Guarding Quem in your graveyard and special summon it. I think this card, like, high-key has some potential because, like, both of these effects are pretty good overall. So on summon, being able to dump not only Albaz, but literally any, oh, sorry for hitting the microphone there, but any card that mentions Albaz at all, I think that's really strong because we've already seen how good a card like Albion can be, like the main deck Albion, the Shrouded Dragon. Because think about it, there are a lot of cards that mention Fallen of Albaz. Like, one sec, even not including these, let me look up Fallen of Albaz. There are 38 cards before this wave that mention the name Fallen of Albaz. I think that's pretty funny, but it also ends up being really useful because you can send something like Albion. You can send any, oh, I'm sorry, some of these cards are the extra deck, so those don't really count, but you can send Albion, you can send any of your branded spells or traps to either get them back from the graveyard during the end phase, you know, like branded and High Spirits, or in order to get them back off of something like your branded Retribution, which you can also dump. I think it just has a good few applications there. And then the second effect just has a really easy activation condition. I mean, literally a card leaving the extra deck. So if literally any monster is summoned from the extra deck or is sent from the extra deck or is banished from the extra deck, that includes like Diablosis, that includes Nadir Servant, that just includes regular summoning, then you can literally special summon either Albaz for a quick super poly effect or any monster that mentions it. So that includes all of your main deck monsters, and that also includes all of your fusion monsters as well. So you can summon back something like a Mirror Jade. I think the only qualm with this card, or I guess you could say the only quem with this card, is that it doesn't have its own summoning condition like Cartesia does, but I still think it's a pretty cool card, maybe a one of, I don't know. And then finally we have branded Etude, I don't know how to pronounce that. It is a continuous trap that says you can only use its first effect once per turn, and during either player's turn you can immediately synchro summon monsters, or synchro summon with monsters you control as material, including at least a dragon. And while you control a bestial monster, any monster sent to your opponent's graveyard, because they tributed it for a ritual summon or used it as material for a fusion, synchro, Xyz, or link summon, is banished instead. So the first effect is clearly made to access the new synchro, and let me read what the synchro does again, because I don't remember exactly what the Synchro does. Target a banished letter dark monster special to your field. When your opponent activates a monster effect, you can target a banished card, shuffle into the deck. Then if you were that card's owner, destroy that monster, and if your opponent was, negate the activated effect. Okay, so yeah, you're clearly meant to go into the Bestial Synchro, and it actually has a lot of synergy with the second effect as well, which Konami decided that Branded needed a one-sided dimension shifter. I mean, that's awesome. So like, you're supposed to go into the Bestial Synchro, and then while you control that Bestial Synchro, literally all your opponent's stuff gets shifted, and then if a card is banished, sorry, not if a card is banished, but you can target those banished monsters and just special them to your field for free. And then if they activate, or when they activate a monster effect, you can shuffle back one of their banished cards to basically just pop that monster for free like a Ghost Ogre. And if you shuffle back one of your banished cards, then you can literally negate it for free. I think this card is pretty stupid overall. I mean, like I said, a one-sided shifter. Yeah, you do have to control a Bestial, but considering how many Bestial names we're going to have at this point, because we have our current ones, we have the, I think it's called Maldrake, it's the one coming out in Photon Hypernova, and then now we have the Bestial Aluber, we have the new Synchro monster. Like, I don't think the condition is going to be that bad, not to mention that you just get a free access to Synchro on the opponent's turn, which can synergize with things like the new Albaz Synchro that came out. I think it's the Albion, then Incandescent Dragon. I almost said Iridescent Dragon, but I feel like there's a lot of ways to access the new Synchro, even in like pure Branded decks, because I feel like they're giving Branded a lot more toys that aren't just fusion locked. So I don't know, I think this card could be a pretty silly, goofy one of, especially because you can just get it for free from deck off of a lot of your cards, including Lubellion. But those are all of the brand new Abyss lore cards coming out in Cyberstorm Access that are left, I'm pretty sure. I don't think we're going to be getting any more after this in Cyberstorm Access specifically. We're definitely getting more after this set, which it's crazy to think about that it's almost been 3 years since the Albaz lore started. It dropped in like November 2022, and we're heading into 2023 with even more lore cards. I think it's pretty cool. I really love this lore. It gave me literally my favorite archetype ever, being Tri-Brigade. I know there are some people that are tired of it, especially those that would rather see like the Visas lore fleshed out, but I think we're about to be done with the Visas lore if we're not already done. But I don't know, I feel like the Branded lore is just one of my favorite things that has come out of Yu-Gi-Oh!, at least since I started playing like seriously. I just really like all of the different pieces as they connect together. So what do I think about these cards overall? I mean, honestly, all of them are kind of a mixed bag, considering they're not only good or bad in different qualities, but also that they are all for different archetypes. So I feel like my favorite one is definitely the Ice Shade Azurine Ron, because it can help so many different decks that use water stuff, because it just gives them access to the free level 10 Ice Shade Synchro, which is really, really good, don't get me wrong. I also think that the Branded Etude is kind of stupid. I think that Quem has potential, and I think that Aluber also kind of has potential, and then I just don't really know what to feel about the Fallen of Argyrus, but I don't know, that's just my opinion. Let me know yours down in the comments below, because that's going to do it for the video. If you liked it, please sure to leave a like, as I'll put this video and the channel into YouTube recommended. And if you like this content and would see more like it, like the rest of my review series, I try to review every new archetype or every, like, at least 2 or more wave of support that comes out. But I'm also trying to review even more things now that I'm trying to take my YouTube career more seriously. But perhaps consider subscribing, because it supports the channel more than anything else, and it's absolutely free. But once again, thank you all so much for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Aurora, signing off.